So a fantastic victory and a real confidence booster for the England team, who could savour their success and look forward eagerly perhaps to the winter's contest for the Ashes in Australia. Maybe not quite though, because first, in such a packed international schedule, there was the Emirates Triangular Tournament.
Oh, what a catch! Absolutely magnificent.
Perhaps it was the euphoria spilling over from England's win over South Africa, but the traditionalists barely ruffled by the advent of the first one-day internationals to feature coloured clothing in the first triangular one-day series in England. In fact, it was a tournament with considerably more significance than some, given the World Cup next summer. It featured world champion Sri Lanka, one of the favourites South Africa and England, whose home one-day record is very impressive.
Could be his half-century, and it is. The misfield out there gives Alex Stewart a half-century.
When Jayasuriya and Kalawitharana walked out to face South Africa in the first match at Trent Bridge, we knew one thing for certain, of course, the all-out fireworks from the off that had characterised Sri Lanka's batting in the World Cup, well, that would be suicide in English conditions. Well,
Beautifully timed. That just raced off the bat. That's over the top again. Even better struck this time. That's a fantastic shot.
yes, it caught South Africa by surprise too, and they used 7 bowlers in a frantic effort to stem the tide. It was the captain himself, Cronje, who was most effective. Then Pollock mopped up the tail with more than 2 overs of the innings left as the Sri Lankans perished in pursuit of the overambitious. A total of 258 was well short of expectations after that start.
And he's got it at the 3rd go. Elworthy has finished the innings, taking the catch off Sean Pollock.
If Sri Lanka were disappointed, well, it wasn't for long. The South African batting has looked increasingly fragile as the summer has gone on. And whereas Sri Lanka were 102 for 3 after the first 15 overs, well, South Africa languished at 40 for 4. When Cronje fell to Muralitharan soon afterwards, it looked all over. But Rhodes and Simcox then embarked on an entertaining stand of 116 overs, which gave some cause for hope.
That is a big one. Simcox has picked that up nicely.
Swung away pretty effectively. 4 runs through square leg, taking South Africa past the 150 mark.
When they both fell in quick succession to Damasina, it really was the end, and Sri Lanka quickly wrapped up an emphatic victory, and so to Lords and England. Sri Lanka may have been smarting from only being given 1 test, but a buoyant England were in no mood to take heed. Although Wickramasinga continued his good form from the previous match by dismissing Nick Knight and Ali Brown cheaply, this simply cleared the stage for Stewart and Graham Hick.
That's all timing from Alex Stewart. And a very straight bat. Beautifully played.
Hick, the enigma, chose today to be Dr. Jekyll, playing the sort of innings full of authority and poise that makes everyone shake their heads with disbelief when they see Mr. Hyde. With Stewart and Hussain offering good support, England were hoping for a score somewhere near 300. But not for the first time this summer. When wickets started to fall, they tumbled. 220 for 3 became 247 all out, with the batsman seemingly unable to pick Jayasuriya's arm ball. There's only one way to stop the Sri Lankan batsmen from scoring quickly, to get them out. And this England did. After just 5 overs, the score 28 for 3 as Peter Martin snuffed out Kalawitharana. And then Gough grabbed the key wickets of Jayasuriya and Atapatu in quick succession.
That's close, and he's given it.
The stranglehold was maintained by Alan Mullally, Ian Austin making his England debut, of course, Robert Croft and Adam Holyoke, as even De Silva and Ranatunga were first restricted and then dismissed.
Big shot for W. He's gone. Ian Austin.
As wickets fell, the task became ever more impossible, and England's golden run continued unabated. South Africa were now highly unlikely to qualify for the finals, and after a long and ultimately disappointing tour, they were surely thinking of home and unlikely to get fired up for a dead rubber. As yet again the openers failed, with yet again Darren Gough the tormentor. Before a noisy and partisan Edgbaston crowd, the England juggernaut seemed unstoppable. But Daryl Cullinan decided that today was time to show everyone how good he can be, and set about reigniting the innings.
Oh, beautiful shot, right off the meat. Full swing of the bat. Wasn't that bad a delivery either, just a little bit wide of off stump.
But when Goff returned to bowl him for 70 with the first ball of his second spell, Cronje and Callis were unable to maintain the momentum.
Oh, played on. Trying to be just a little bit too fancy with the shot.
It took Pat Simcox to turn things round, and his blistering assault yielded 51 off 39 balls, including 22 off 2 overs from the hapless Adam Holyoke.
And he's got that one away as well. 6 more.
That steered South Africa to the respectable total of 244. Jonty Rhodes pounced immediately to run out Ali Brown, but then England began to take control with Nick Knight and Graham Hick putting on 113 in 22 overs, leaving 85 off the last 20 overs with 7 wickets in hand.
A very good shot. So Hick is first to the 50.
But in the face of the spirited South African response, the England collapse was so terminal that at one stage it threatened to deny them the 188 runs they needed to make the final, let alone the 245 to win the match. The way the pendulum had swung was epitomised by the dismissal of Robert Croft. And if ever there was a catch which truly deserved to win a match, this surely was it. Jonty Rhodes has enlivened the summer with his brilliance. So the South Africans headed home and England back to Lord's for the final. Michael Atherton was recalled to open with Nick Knight, and they immediately steered England to a commanding position, a partnership of 132 in 25 overs. The Sri Lankan bowling and fielding was in disarray. England's sights must again have been set on 300, but one man had other ideas. Muttiah Muralitharan, the off-spinner with a prodigious wrist action, caused havoc. His 10 overs cost just 34 runs. First, he frustrated Atherton and Knight by denying them the acceleration they sought, then simply destroyed the England batting. Atherton, Stewart, Knight, Hussain and Brown falling in close succession. As Austin and Croft eked out a few runs in the closing stages, England will have had mixed feelings. 256 was short of the total they should have got, but a similar total to that which had proved ample against the same opponents here at Lord's just a few days earlier. And they got the perfect start. The dangerous Jarius Surya cleaned up by Goff's second ball. So just Aravinda de Silva stood between England and the Emirates trophy. Oh yeah, and Kalawitharana and Atapatu, of course. The Sri Lankans have a joyously uncomplicated and fearless approach. Kalawitharana and Atapatu simply made hay as all the bowlers suffered.
Ball was slightly slower, but it didn't deceive Atapatu.
One of the best shots of the game, straight down the ground.
That's straight to the fielder as well, and that's out.
When Kalawitharana perished to Croft, Aravinda de Silva took up the cudgels, struck 3 fours in succession off Peter Martin, whilst Marvin Atapatu cruised towards a well-deserved 100. England hopes fluttered briefly. Goff prompted de Silva to pull injudiciously. Atapatu suddenly afflicted by the nervous 90s, nearly spooning a catch to Goff at mid-on.
Catch it!
Then Nick Knight took 2 excellent catches to dismiss Ranatunga and Chandana in quick succession. But having reached the coveted 3 figures, this slight hiccup merely served to prod Atapatu into a pitiless response. His stroke play inviting comparisons with the great Sachin Tendulkar as Sri Lanka raced the victory with 3 overs to spare.
That is the winning runs.
So Sri Lanka won the Emirates trophy. Those who believe that their title as world champions was earned only because they suited the Indian subcontinent wickets may want to think again. Sri Lanka are not a flash in the pan.
The star of the day for Sri Lanka with the bat is Marvin Atapatu, who I thought played magnificently.
So the Sri Lankans proving that they're still very much kings of one-day cricket.